What is a survival myth that is completely wrong and could get you killed? Sticking your finger up a dog's bum. I've read this a few times. Not a good idea. Best way to deal with a dog attack is to try to move away slowly, sideways with your arms at your sides, so that you're not threatening. Don't look at the eyes and don't smile. Both are seen as a challenge. Don't run away. The dog will instinctively chase you. Get up high if you can. Dogs can't climb very well. If shit hits the fan, do the opposite of looking unthreatening. Stand tall with your arms in the air and growl or roar. If there's something nearby, throw it at the dog to make it think twice. Wrap clothing around your arm to hand to the dog should it go in for a bite. You're pretty much guaranteed to be bit, so make it in a place that is less important and less likely to bleed out. Don't lose your footing or fall to the ground. You'll be toast. Don't pull away from the dog if it has bitten you. This will cause more damage. Once the dog has bitten you, it probably won't let go. Aim to kill or maim the dog. Fingers in the eyes are good. Jumping on the dog with all your body weight is better. If you break their ribs, they will probably give up. Staying away from aggressive dogs is your best bet. Punch a shark in the nose. Punching them in the nose is the last resort. It would be more effective to punch them in the eyes or the gills and use what you can to keep distance. Drinking alcohol to stay warm. You sweat, your blood will rush to your skin and you will freeze/die much faster. The thinning of blood doesn't play as a bigger factor as does your blood vessels dilating. This in turn causes increased blood flow near the surface of the skin, which heats your skin up. This becomes a problem because of the way your skin and ultimately your body regulates temperature. Your skin has thermosensors, but they don't just detect temperature intuitively, but rather through the rate at which heat can be transferred to/from you. That is why you can touch two separate things of different material, that is, metal and cloth, which are at the same temperature, and yet you'll perceive one as colder/hotter than the other. The metal is transferring heat from you faster than cloth, so would feel cold. Now, because alcohol sort of sabotages this mechanism by indirectly heating up your skin from increased blood flow, your skin isn't actually able to accurately detect the difference in temperature between the air and yourself. As a result, you feel warm, but in reality, are losing heat faster than you would have had you not drank. A lot of Southeast Asians believe going from heat to aircon, jumping in a swimming pool on a hot day, or even fans will kill you. So many deaths happen every year because people are afraid of being shocked to death from going from hot to cold too quickly. One myth I have heard was that moss only grows on the north side of trees. This of course is false. Yeah, I think there's only a very small handful of moss species that grow like this. That you can eat what animals eat. Not true. Animals have different digestion systems that aren't the same as a human's. Sucking a snake bite, it will often make it worse. Australian doc here. There is so much misinformation on here. What you want to do is stop the venom from traveling from the site of the bite into the lymphatic system and then into the bloodstream. Do not suck, cut, wash or otherwise investigate the wound. Edit. Do not try to catch or kill the snake. Identifying the kind of snake is not worth the risk of a second bite and the delay in getting to your other priorities. Priority 1. Get away from the snake. Priority 2. Get help. Get someone nearby to call an ambulance or worst case scenario call yourself. Edit. Leaving this here because it's hilarious. Priority 3. Stay still. Moving your muscles is what helps pump the fluid through your lymphatic system and to the lymph nodes, where it can enter the bloodstream quickest. Ideally keep the bite below your heart, but immobilization is the most important thing. Priority 4. If there is someone with you, get them to apply a pressure dressing to tightly compress the whole limb. This can greatly slow the flow of lymph and buy you hours. The issue with a tourniquet, as opposed to full limb compression, is that you're not actually preventing the spread of lymph up the limb. Taking the tourniquet off then becomes very risky for a sudden influx of venom into the central circulation and has serious risks of permanent damage and loss to the limb. *TYPO corrected from pounds. Edit. I can only speak for what to do Australian snakes. Other areas obviously have different species and perhaps correspondingly different guidelines. If you are doing outdoorsy crap in other continents, make sure you know basic first aid relevant to that specific location. Curing an eye infection with your urine is dangerous. Let me repeat that. Do not under any circumstances put your urine in your eyes. Head to the doctor. Even waiting it out is better. Removing a bullet is more dangerous than leaving it in. Trying to remove it can tear vital organs. It can be pushed in even deeper, or removing it can cause the person to bleed out. Yep. There is pretty much no reason to ever go digging around in a gunshot wound in the field with a pair of pliers, trying to get a bullet out. Your only goal is to control bleeding and, if possible, prevent infection. And then get to a hospital, because if you got gut or chest shot you're going to die in one of many horrible slow ways if you don't get into surgery. This is why cutting weapons aren't all that realistic in movies. Stabbing is a far more effective means of killing people, as a large percentage of stab wounds are fatal beyond 2 inches. Gunshots are basically stab wounds with more velocity and splash damage to the tissues. Digging around for a bullet basically makes your existing, been really stabbed problem worse. This is the same for arrow wounds and other deep punctures. The movie thing about just yanking out an arrow and proceeding on is just abjectly fictional. Expanding on this, knives or sharp objects. If you are ever stabbed, do not remove the knife. Call 911. Wrap a cloth very gently around the entry wound and do not move the knife. There is a significant risk that you will do more damage pulling it out than when it went in. This goes for glass injuries, debris injuries. You wait until you're in the ambulance and you let the professionals do it. If you try to Rambo it out of you, you're going to open up every blood vessel that knife is blocking, and you're probably going to fuck up previously undamaged organs or tissue. One I know of is the myth that you can drink water from a cactus. I heard it's false, and you can only drink from a small minority of cacti without having certain health consequences I'm not aware of. Another one. Poison ivy isn't just washed off with water and soap. It almost leaves a sap-like residue on your skin. Wash the area and wipe off the residue, never reusing the same part of the cloth. Imagine wiping grease off of your skin. It's much like the same thing. You can avoid some nasty rashes and immune responses if you do it correctly. Can make a huge difference outdoors. Not quite a survival myth but interesting nonetheless. Paradoxical undressing. It is when you are hypothermic, but still remove your clothes. Explains why dead people are sometimes found naked out in snowy ranges. It is usually during the final stages of hypothermia, and the theory is that your blood vessels give up on constricting blood flow to your skin/peripheries, so you suddenly feel super warm and remove all your clothes, which in turn causes you to die quicker. Trying to outrun a tornado is about the worst possible thing you can do in a tornado situation. Take shelter, get underground, go into an interior room, lay in a ditch while covering your head if you have to. Tornadoes are basically like 3-year-olds throwing temper tantrums, except instead of toys it's cars, buses, and trains they're throwing around, but also toys too, which they can throw hard enough to literally pass through your body. A vehicle of any kind is about the last place you want to be when a tornado comes through. Edit. And sure enough, I've got people telling me that, nah, you totally can outrun a tornado, because storm chasers do it all the time and tornadoes only move like 30 miles per hour, which is objectively false. Their top speed is more like 70 miles per hour, but don't listen to a random Redditor like me. Here's what the CDC has to say about it. If you are in a car, do not try to outrun a tornado, but instead find the nearest sturdy building. And the NOAA has this to say: vehicles are extremely risky in a tornado. There is no safe option when caught in a tornado in a car, just slightly less dangerous ones. If the tornado is visible, far away, and the traffic is light, you may be able to drive out of its path by moving at right angles to the tornado. Seek shelter in a sturdy building, or underground if possible. I hope discerning Redditors will work out that what they are advising is there is not to try to outrun a tornado, but that you don't need to get out of your vehicle if you are very far away from one. And the National Weather Service, being in a vehicle during a tornado is not safe. The best course of action is to drive to the closest shelter. If you are unable to make it to a safe shelter, either get down in your car and cover your head, or abandon your car and seek shelter in a low-lying area such as a ditch or ravine. So, in short, never try to outrun a tornado, and anyone who ever tells you otherwise is objectively wrong and spreading dangerous misinformation. End of discussion. But what if I have a Honda Civic? That's like the fastest car ever. Surely it could outrun a tornado. Only if it has a noisy exhaust tip and a 10-inch tall powered by Honda decal on the windshield. If a diabetic is having a hypo and becomes unconscious, do not give them insulin. They need to get their blood sugar up, and insulin does literally the opposite. F the media for always portraying diabetics as needing an injection to save their lives. To be fair, they portrayed it correctly in Mall Cop, when Bart had to eat a bite-sized Snickers bar to avoid passing out. Brought to you by Snickers. Don't put severed parts on ice. It'll practically give the dead tissue frostbite, thus making it near impossible to reattach. Semi-related, if you ever lose a whole tooth, put it in your mouth, under your tongue, or in your cheek if you're not comfortable reinserting it, or you can reinsert it in the socket if you're comfortable, and get straight to the dentist. If you do this and get there quick enough, it's possible the tooth can be rerouted. Never touch the tooth at the root though, always the crown, the part that you can see in your mouth. If it's someone else's tooth and they aren't able to keep it in their mouth, you can put it in a glass of milk while you rush to the dentist. If it's someone else's tooth and they can't put it in their mouth, and there's no milk, you can use your own saliva and wrap it up. If you need to rinse the tooth before putting it back in your mouth, if it landed on the ground or such, always rinse with milk and not water. Using water or drying the tooth out will cause the tooth to start dying. This happened to me when I was a kid. It was one of my front teeth. My neighbors put the tooth in milk and took me to the dentist immediately. They rerouted the tooth, and I still have a full mouth of teeth today.